Welcome back to Decentralized Application Development Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and I'm here with Victor. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind our listeners to rate our podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more developers like you.
That's right, Sheila. We really appreciate your support. Today we're continuing our journey through Chapter 5, Networking in P2P Systems. We've covered NAT traversal techniques, and now we're moving on to an exciting topic: bootstrapping nodes.
Absolutely, Victor. But before we get into the details, I have a quiz question for our listeners. Here it goes. In a P2P network with millions of nodes, what percentage of nodes typically need to be bootstrapping nodes to maintain network efficiency? Think about it, and we'll reveal the answer at the end of the episode.
Ooh, that's an intriguing question, Sheila. It really makes you think about the scale and structure of P2P networks. I'm curious to see what our listeners will come up with. Without giving away the answer, I think it's a great way to highlight the importance of efficient network design in P2P systems.
Agreed, Victor. Now, let's start with the basics. Can you explain what bootstrapping nodes are and why they're important in P2P networks?
Certainly. Bootstrapping nodes, also known as seed nodes or rendezvous nodes, are special nodes in a P2P network that help new peers join the network. They act as entry points, providing initial connection information to newcomers. Think of them as the welcoming committee at a large party, introducing new guests to others and helping them integrate into the gathering.
That's a great analogy, Victor. So, if I understand correctly, when a new node wants to join a P2P network, it first connects to these bootstrapping nodes to get information about other peers in the network.
Exactly right, Sheila. The bootstrapping nodes maintain a list of active peers in the network. When a new node joins, it contacts one or more bootstrapping nodes, which then provide it with information about other peers. This allows the new node to establish connections and become part of the network.
I see. But doesn't this introduce an element of centralization into what's supposed to be a decentralized system? How do we balance this?
That's an excellent question, Sheila. You're right that bootstrapping nodes can introduce a degree of centralization, which is why their implementation needs to be carefully considered. The key is to have multiple bootstrapping nodes distributed across the network. This way, even if some bootstrapping nodes fail or are compromised, the network can still function.
That makes sense. Can you walk us through how a typical bootstrapping process works in a P2P network?
Of course, let's break it down step by step. Point 1. A new node joins the network and has a list of known bootstrapping node addresses. Point 2. The new node attempts to connect to one or more of these bootstrapping nodes. 3. Upon successful connection, the new node requests information about other peers in the network. 4. The bootstrapping node responds with a list of peer addresses. 5. The new node then attempts to connect to these peers, establishing its place in the network. 6. Over time, the new node builds its own list of peer connections, becoming less reliant on the bootstrapping nodes.
That's fascinating, Victor. It sounds like bootstrapping nodes play a crucial role in the early stages of a node's life in the network. Are there any challenges or limitations to this approach?
Absolutely, Sheila. One major challenge is ensuring the availability and reliability of bootstrapping nodes. If all bootstrapping nodes go offline, new nodes can't join the network. Another issue is trust. Bootstrapping nodes could potentially provide false information about the network.
Those sound like significant concerns. How do real-world P2P systems address these challenges?
Great question. Let's look at a couple of examples. BitTorrent, one of the most well-known P2P systems, uses a combination of static bootstrapping nodes and a technique called DHT, or Distributed Hash Table Bootstrapping. DHT allows nodes to find peers even if the main bootstrapping nodes are unavailable. Ethereum, a popular blockchain network, uses a set of trusted bootstrapping nodes maintained by the Ethereum Foundation. However, it also allows users to specify their own bootstrapping nodes, adding a layer of decentralization.
That's really interesting, Victor. It seems like there's a balance to strike between centralization for ease of use and decentralization for network resilience. Are there any best practices or tips for implementing bootstrapping nodes in a P2P system?
Absolutely, Sheila. Here are a few key tips. Point 1. Use multiple bootstrapping nodes to avoid single points of failure. Point 2. Regularly update the list of bootstrapping nodes to maintain network health. Point 3. Implement a mechanism for nodes to become bootstrapping nodes over time, enhancing decentralization. 4. Use secure communication protocols to prevent man-in-the-middle attacks during the bootstrapping process. Point 5. Implement a reputation system to identify and exclude malicious bootstrapping nodes.
Those are great tips, Victor. Before we wrap up, do you have any interesting facts or anecdotes about bootstrapping nodes?
Sure. Here's a fun fact. The concept of bootstrapping comes from the phrase pulling oneself up by one's bootstraps, which originally meant an impossible task. In computing, it's used to describe the process of getting a complex system running from a simple initial state, much like how bootstrapping nodes help build a complex P2P network from simple initial connections.
That's a great bit of trivia, Victor. Now let's reveal the answer to our quiz question. In a P2P network with millions of nodes, typically only about 0.1% to 1% of nodes need to be bootstrapping nodes to maintain network efficiency. It's a small percentage, but these nodes play a crucial role in keeping the network running smoothly.
Exactly, Sheila. It's amazing how a relatively small number of nodes can have such a big impact on the entire network.
Indeed, Victor. To summarize today's episode, Point 1. Bootstrapping nodes are essential entry points for new nodes joining a P2P network. Point 2. They provide initial peer information, helping new nodes integrate into the network. 3. While they introduce some centralization, multiple distributed bootstrapping nodes can maintain network decentralization. 4. Real-world systems like BitTorrent and Ethereum use various strategies to implement bootstrapping nodes effectively. 5. Best practices include using multiple nodes, regular updates, and secure communication protocols.
Great summary, Sheila. Remember, listeners, bootstrapping nodes are like the friendly faces at a party that help newcomers feel welcome and get connected.
That's all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this content, please visit crashcasts.com, join our Discord community, or support us on Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, happy coding.